So people asked yesterday with buckets, what percentage of income should you put where? Or percentage of buckets should you go where? And though there are many different thoughts on this, the short answer is it's completely subjective and up to you. The most asked question yesterday, and it's a loaded question because it's two different things. One of them is dealing with stock and the other one is dealing with income. So stock is a store of wealth. It's equity, right? It's like stagnant. It's like I have 55,000 in the vehicle account. Obviously, it's depreciating 10, 15% a year, whatever it may be. So that's stock. That's like, okay, it's already earned income. It's wealth that we're managing. And then income we make like yesterday, well, what do we do with the income? Obviously, some of that's got to go to overhead. And then the other parts of that's got to get divvied out. So it's a two-part question. One's stock, and then the other one's income. Stock part is probably the most important part. That's the setup. So like, how much do you have in the vehicle account as a percentage of your net worth? Like, what are your vehicles as a percentage of your net worth? When I dog on dudes with platinums, it's because that's worth. They have more debt on the platinum than their net worth. That's why I talk shit. And I can do that because the economy is so frothy, at least at some point it was, that happened. And then the whole economy basically did that at all scales, like Grant Cardone and the jet, all the way down to 19-year-old and the platinum. The whole thing, the whole system, just all jacked up. Dave Ramsey would probably be the best personal finance advice guy, and he would say no more than 10 to 15% of net worth into a vehicle. That would be like pretty standard. Now, if your net worth is 10 grand, and maybe half your net worth is into a vehicle, maybe, that's how you start at like 16, 17 years old. If your net worth is like 100 grand, then, do you need a $10,000 vehicle, a $20,000 vehicle? You probably don't need more than a $20,000 vehicle. So, but as you continue to go up, you're like, you really want to try to keep it like 15% of your net worth. Why? Because you want the rest of your net worth to be making you money, like to be getting you wealthy. Because if your percentages are off, let's say 80% of it's in vehicle fund, like I would love that. I would love to have a freaking plane right now and have 80% of my net worth in like an airplane or something awesome like that. But like long term, it's going to be harder to build wealth. So percentage wise, some people like Cardone would say a house or personal property that you live on or whatnot would be dead money. Right? And he would be right to say is that your house is not an asset, right? It's a liability. Like, even if your house is paid for, that's our goal this year. We're building a paid for house. So that goes to the income statement. So when we take income, some goes to the overhead, and then most of it right now gets plowed into the house fund. So we're not investing into the business. We got the business where it needs to be. We're growing the business, but we're not growing it as aggressively as I was in previous years. We grew the business where it's got to be. It's just what it is. Obviously, I want to grow it more. But at certain times, you're plowing everything back into the business, especially when you're starting. You're plowing everything back into the business. And then you get to a certain point where you can cash flow the business. And then if you have an older established business, maybe you can cash flow the business a lot. You have to figure out what to do with that cash. And that might get you to a point where you want to divest from the business. You want to have like half your net worth in the business and half your net worth in other things. Rental properties, stocks, bonds. I wouldn't suggest bonds because all these companies are literally going to go bankrupt. Bond payers are going to get paid zero. But like other things like that. As your net worth grows, maybe you only want to keep 10% of your net worth in one single asset or one single business. Why? Because your business can get sued and your business can go away, and all the assets in that business or LLC or S Corp can go away. So you want to have stuff elsewhere, and you want to have things that are non-paper assets too. Like you want to have things that are like not claimed. Like I have assets that are not on balance sheets. I have assets that through legal procedures, I don't have to claim. Like if you ever go through something, you have to claim. Like I've had legal things where I had to fill out how many firearms I own. Our taxes for 19, they asked Bitcoin like level. Hey, what Bitcoin? Have you purchased any Bitcoin this year? And I'm like, side note, if we do, we're not doing it traditionally, and we're certainly not claiming it with the IRS. The whole point of an asset like that is to have the protection that it gives you. It's the parachute. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, there was a financial collapse, but I'm good. I can roll anywhere in the world right now and be good. I can be back in like 72 hours. I'm back. So the answer is it completely depends on you, on your plowback rate, which is income, or your bucket allocation, which is stock, that store of wealth. Like how much do you got to go where? So you just need to have balance sheet. You need to know like where you at on the balance sheet, and you need to know where you're trying to go on the balance sheet. Like if you're trying to get your balance sheet to like a mil, like I'm just trying to get my basic portfolio right now to a mil. Like that's what it is. And so I've studied like the average millionaire in North America has a $600,000 to $700,000 home paid for, and then about $300,000 in assets elsewhere. That's the average millionaire. So maybe they got like $100,000 in cash and then, $200,000 in stocks and bonds and some sort of Roth IRA or whatever. Like that would be the average millionaire. And that's a starting point of wealth. Like that gets you into being an accredited investor. That's like the starting point. You're not retired at a mill. A mill's not nearly enough to retire. But like you're beginning the process of having no bills and money that's making you money while you're not making money. So you're beginning the process of becoming a wealthy individual. Obviously the allocation there is up to individuals. Like to have that much of your net worth into like something that doesn't cash flow is going to affect your growth long term. You're gonna have higher growth than most of North America because most of North America is gonna stay in debt on the house, smaller house, whatever. Like they're gonna stay in debt on the house. They're gonna always be paying the mortgage, always paying the taxes, always paying the light bill. So they're like, oh, my home's an asset. Your home's not an asset. You're constantly having money leave your account every month to pay for it. How is that an asset? It's a liability. If you stop paying those bills, then that goes away. Like you can't just not pay your taxes, and not in America. Like, if it was a free society, it'd be different. But like, you gotta pay. But the asset allocation there is totally up to you. Like, if you didn't have a $600,000, $700,000 paid for house and you had that cash or net worth and equipment or whatever it is that you're doing, and you're like running a $4 or $5 million business with that asset, like, oh, that's a different equation. That'll put you at a different place 10 years from now, right? The paid for home is like having base, like it's like having the fort handled, right? Because like at the end of the day, you can always go back to the fort, especially the fort's like off grid, If it's off grid, then you really have no fucks to give. And that's a great spot in life because you're like, well, I have no bills. I could just stay at home and just like garden. I guess that's cool. So you're still retired, like you get retired faster. That's part of why people do that. In a completely theoretical example, you could take that $600,000 net worth, paid for net worth that you have, like that real equity, and you could lever it up 10 to 1. You could have $6 million in cash with that type of money, with the right financing. So what you do with it is up to you. Obviously, like, if you're levered up, you could lose your $600,000 and have to restart. If you're a real gangster entrepreneur, maybe you don't care about that because you're like, whatever, I've done that a few times, and like every time it gets quicker, faster, and bigger and easier. So you have to think about these, but you have to understand your field position. True for all assets, right? Like maybe you're financing a Bobcat and it's $50,000 and you're putting $10,000 down, you got $40,000 in debt. And over the course of the loan, you pay it off, and at the end of the day, it's worth $20,000 when you're all done and said paying it off. But you earned income of $400,000 to $500,000. If you take that $400,000 to $500,000, like you take it off the field or you put it on, it's up to you. So that's called the plowback rate. How much of that money, that earned money, do you want to plow back in? And then what percentages do you want to go somewhere? There's lots of people much better than me as far as figuring out where you should put your cash, or a good percentage of it. Millionaires do 10 to 15% into like engines, like things that go down in value. That's just what millionaires do. At some point, I might go 30, 40, 50% of my net worth into like engines because I like them. If I own like a startup cargo airline or something like that, well, then maybe that would be correct, right? Like a high majority of my value or my net worth is in this LLC that owns a lot of assets, and those assets give me certain tax privileges, which is why I like being an entrepreneur. Like I get to live life. I pay very, very little taxes, if any. Like there's always a way when you're an entrepreneur to play the game so that it's always favoring you, as opposed to like if you're one of these employees that's furloughed, sitting at home, like broke, busted, and disgusted is what it is. But I also like work 80 hours a week, a lot of times to go backwards. Like I work my ass off sometimes 4 years at a time to go backwards, to actually be further behind than I was at the beginning. If you looked at field position, there's a lot of times in my life where it's fourth and long, and I love those times because I'm just like, fourth and long snap, let's go, blue 42. Currently in life is got a wife, got a 5-year-old. So I want to put points on the board. I want to continually put points on the board, and I want to have a level of margin. And I want to get that done and established so that I can live the rest of my life not caring about margin. Like, I want this. I don't know. Maybe I'll have a bad day one day. We'll see. Be 55 years old and be a serious problem for President AOC. Like, I want to just be a motor mouth for AOC. I want to be a motor mouth that has all of the P-51s in existence fully armed. Like, this is how you manage it is kind of like the key. Like I'm at the very beginning stages of get the hell out of the rat race. I've got no interest in being in the rat race. I'm looking at people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, go to a grocery store, dude's bagging it. My grandfather's in that position. He doesn't have the job. He needs the freaking job. But like those were consequences of decisions, right? Because he was 55. He wanted to do cool things at 55, but now he's 80 and now he's stuck at the assisted living facility. But if he had some passive income, he'd be out, cruising Route 66 in an old Corvette, living his life, doing what he wants to do. So it's just like, that was 35 years ago, like 30 years ago, roughly. So it's like, which one you want to do? I'd like to be 81, like when I get to my grandfather's age. and be a super problem for people. Be like, yo, this guy's getting fucking senile. He's got a lot of net worth. He plowed a lot of money back in really early. And he really, really hates fascists. Really hates them. And he has very little shits to give at this point in time. What are we going to do with this guy? You know? Sounds like a good way to end a life. You know? Like, that's kind of how I'd like to go out like that. More importantly, I'd like to live like no one else for a moment in time, so I can live the rest of my life like no one else. So your plowback rate into what you plow back into is completely subjective and completely personal. On the personal side, I learned the hard way to have Homebase paid off. And it's been like a continual lesson in my life. So I'm like, yeah, let's just do this. If you're a super young dude, you have no family, then do you need to have a paid for home? And probably not. Because if you're renting a place, it lets you move faster. It lets you move to the opportunity. And that's huge. If you own a place, you've got 6% selling fees, which is a mafia in itself. The real estate system, and we have realtors and family, and my wife's a realtor, like we sell real estate, but like to 6% to sell an asset, it's like mafia, like straight up. Like I'm always consistently thinking like, how do we get rid of the multiple listing service and like just own it all? Like how do we have a platform where people can just sell their stuff without these like 6% agents? But it is what it is. Where I sit in my entrepreneurial journey is to work on bigger projects like that. My initial project is, well, let's get Homebase paid for. And like, let's get Homebase on solar, and then like, let's switch the truck out to electric, and then let's switch the other vehicle out to electric. And now we're like fully pretty much, because that's like the motor expenses, engines, like one of the biggest expenses for all Americans. Like your fuel, your insurance, your vehicle, your tires, your brakes. You add that up, most people are spending a good quarter of their net worth on transportation around. So Homebase number one, and then transportation number two. I'm trying to solve those problems. Once I've got a paid for home, solar panels, and an electric vehicle, I'm basically retired, even if I don't have passive income. And my passive income I need, like right now I need like $5,000 a month in passive income to be like fully out of the rat race. That's like all bills paid for and $2,000 a month, like to reinvest and continually grow it. So it's $5,000, $5,500, $6,000 year after year after year. So I'm like, so the numbers for us are like just under 500,000. We need like just under 500,000, maybe 600 adding in the electric vehicles to be pretty much free. We're already on a well. So like water's as pure as it can get in the state. Like it's free. I don't have to worry about like the mayor of LA shutting off my water. Also, I don't have to worry about how many rounds I would send through his fucking house. Because if I was sitting in LA, there's no question about it that me and about 10 of my crazy fucking friends would be like, this is the end for us. But I'm a young dude, right? So I don't need to play that yet because I know that it's coming and I want to raise my family and I want them to be like safe and secure in a way, right? But I also want them to be free, and I'm okay with the consequences of making sure that that happens for the rest of our generations of family. So I'm at a spot now where as a dad and as a husband, I'm setting my family up to be legends for a long time. Very far after I'm gone, I want to set them up to be legends outside of a government system. So the $600,000 of net worth tied up into something that's a dead asset, or what they would call dead money, because it's not really working for us. It's $600,000 that's just parked, is our freedom ticket. That's my freedom ticket. I'm traveling wherever I want because it doesn't cost me jack crap. I got a vehicle with a million-mile powertrain warranty. Like the Tesla truck is a 1,000,000-mile powertrain warranty. It drives itself. It can handle 9mm rounds, and I can drink beer in the back seat. Because I love the DMs from the younger entrepreneurs, and I feel the same exact way. The Trav, we're not going to have $600,000 sunk into the house because we're going to be able to build it for less than that. We're going to create that equity. So maybe we'll have like $300,000 of our own money, but the rest of it will be equity creation, stuff that we like put our time into, we put diesel fuel into, and like, we built it. Like this lake now has appreciated the property probably 10 or 15 grand. It cost me $3,000 in my time. If I did this for a customer, I would charge pretty much what the equity is on it. I'd be like, yeah, this is a $15,000 lake job. So their property would appreciate in many ways, but it would also cost them that same thing. In my particular industry, it doesn't cost me what I get out of it. So that's my like career advantage. It's like, oh, let's buy more land and improve it and then rent it and get cash flows. So that's phase 2. So Homebase is number 1. Phase 2 is additional bases that cash flow. So I've taken the paid for asset, which is a liability, but it's sort of an asset because it's our freedom ticket, right? There's other things. There's a phase 3 to my freedom ticket. Phase 3 to my freedom ticket is the catamaran sailboat. Like that's like Everybody needs a catamaran sailboat. Like, oh, then you're off-grid two places. You're off-grid on land, you're off-grid in the water, and it's movable wherever you want. And you can flag it and register that in any country you want. So it's like, sir, we'd like to check your boat. And it's like, I'm sorry, this is registered to another country. So once we go through customs, I suppose you could, but not right now. And there's reasons for what I want to do in life, why I want things like that. But the first thing is Homebase paid for us. Now, younger entrepreneurs, like my buddy Nick, he reached out and he's like, bro, I mean, I see what you're saying, but Grant Cardone has a point on like dead money of a house. Like, you could have that in your business. It could be rolling. I agree with Nick 100%. Now, if I'm Nick, that's exactly what I'm doing. If I'm a single dude and I did that, right? I'm plowing it all into my business and I'm building that business as big as I can get it. But where I sit today, 31 years old, wife, 5-year-old, that's what I want to do. I want to check off. I want to be off grid. I want to be able to spend time with the girls whenever I want, wherever I want. And part of that is the paid for house and not so much business. And I'm actually enjoying that phase of life. And it's also a great time because I pretty much timed this exactly perfectly. And if you've been watching these stories for like a year and a half, 2 years, like I've been timing this pretty freaking good. Didn't know there was a virus coming, but I knew there was a corporate debt bubble, like, unbelievably. So we haven't even addressed that yet. Like, we're handling virus stimulus problems now. We haven't even touched corporate debt bubble. Like, when they gotta be refinanced for the end of the year, all these big companies, $10 trillion isn't gonna move the needle. That's why you're getting a depression. And so it's a good time for us to build the compound because not a whole lot of things that we're missing out on. We'll wait for the trough, the bottom. When things get real bad and I can start buying things for real good deals, well, there you go. And if we choose to, we could access the equity. We could actually access the equity at probably negative interest rates in a few years and take that 600, 700 and leverage it up if we wanted to and go buy 6 to 7 million more in property. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll buy a dumping facility, But I like the idea of always having something that we like as Homebase paid for. So maybe I'll leverage this asset, but it's probably because I bought something else better for cash and then I'm re-accessing the wealth. So it's not like it's off the table forever, but the neutralization of it, as far as the liability is, RV pad, under storage, like garage storage for very expensive RV and boat, and the cash flow is passive. I don't have to do crap. And then obviously, like, the way I'm funding that is like with my bamboo operation, because I genuinely love bamboo. I think it's just amazing. And I can grow bamboo and grow it and then reinvest into the RV pads, and I got a few grand here and a few grand there to spend like for a little bit. Answer my boy Nick's questions, like, which I totally agree with. Nick's business is killing it, but also keep in mind, like, if I wanted to step into the entrepreneurial arena, I could be stepping in at an easy $6 million in 18 months, which is pretty much all the money it would have really have taken to have bought ASV last year. And you guys remember watching my ASV stories? If ASV didn't get sold, like if they didn't sell off to Yanmar when they did, $6 million would have taken that company. And now I would have just thrown them through a Chapter 11 bankruptcy, gotten rid of all their debt, and then had all their patents. Sold off their patents, got my 6 back. Now I got the company and I try to flip it, right? Because I got a whole different distribution model as far as how to sell machines, that their dealership model is fat and ugly. You don't need dealers to sell these machines. I take their company and go direct to consumer. I'd get rid of the dealership model completely. I'd go mobile semi status, and it would be huge. And I'd also take the influencers, like there's influencers out there right now. They're out there busting their ass on construction sites, dealing with rain, this, that, paying equipment payments. I would just buy them. Like, hey man, I'm gonna buy you. What was your net worth last year? Great, I'm gonna buy you. That's cool. Like, whatever your net profit was last year, I'll pay that as well. So now you make double the profit. You'll never run a machine that's not this brand. Like, no, I'm going to contract you up like so bad that like you're going to be promoting this brand, like your kids are going to be promoting this brand, and then it'd sell the brand. Like, it'd sell the brand to Caterpillar or whoever. I'd just go make a dent in that market, and Cat would be like, yo, for 300 mil, let's get rid of this guy. Like, let's get him out of this business. Great, I'm out. Now I'm 300, right? Well, what can I do with 300? Probably could build my own cryptocurrency, maybe go for a run at the government. If not, just take a little sidestep to like some off-grid energy stuff. And then it's just examples. They're just theoretical examples of moves you can make. So the answer to where you should allocate things is just where's your end goal and what's consistent with your end goal, and how do you neutralize some of the risk? Being an entrepreneur carries a lot of risk. You get sued one time, one bad thing, one truck gets in an accident. How you spread out on risk? You got different LLCs, you got some assets that are off balance sheet, you got some silver and gold in the safe, you got some stuff people can't touch. How do you got things allocated? You got safes in different areas, you got safes in different countries, you got friends in different places. You know, can you raise capital? Can you take your audience and go, hey, let's raise capital? I could probably take this audience and easily raise $1 million. The problem is they're unaccredited investors, most of them. That's why I talk about finance. I don't want you guys to be unaccredited. When you guys become millionaires, you're worth a lot more to me, because then I can be like, yo, we're doing things. End goal is very big. I don't like these governments. I don't see why we got them. But short goal, I'm doing some entrepreneurial endeavors and I have no fucks to give. And we're going to go make some good money. And it's not going to be leveraged or risky at all. Like, we're just going to raise money and buy a company for cash and get rid of their debt and then sell the brand off when somebody just paid $72 million in the ASV example. Company was worth $11 million last year, 100%. That's what the balance sheet, it was worth $11 million. It was selling at $17 million, but it was worth $11 million. And Yanmar came in and bought them for $72 million. Well, to Yanmar, maybe it is worth $72 million, but like to someone that's not in the business, it was worth $6 million. Like, but we know that we could definitely probably grow the brand and sell it to Caterpillar for like $1.5 billion. Like, wouldn't be hard, especially if we start eating up the skid market. Like, just take one product. Problem with ASV is they had 11 machines they're making. They need to make 2, and those 2 they need to be on the very bottom, that 25 horsepower skid, because no one's got anything like it. So they own the sector, and that's a sector. It's the mini skid market, the midi sit down skid, and everyone's got a stand up skid, and so there's some difference there. And then they need to dominate the 74 horsepower class. Dominate it, because it's under emissions and a lot of things. Just absolutely dominate it. Make sure that Caterpillar can't sell 289s. And if you can just take the 289 off the table, where people the only reason they're buying 289s is because Cat Finance. Like, this is the reason most people are buying new Cat Finance. It's the bank of Cat. Cat is a bank, and then they sell machines. So you got to take that model and make it work for you. So I just talk about this just to put these ideas in some of your heads, because a lot of you guys are out there busting it. Maybe you're starting lawn care. There's a journey to the whole process. You got to continually be making moves to get to where you want to go. Make a play that decreases your risk, both personal and business, solidifies your field position, kind of like blockades you at a certain yard line. It helps ensure that every time you want to shoot a touchdown, you're going to be able to shoot it. Easy. If you've got like a little fort set up on the 40-yard line, you're always good. Every time you get the ball, you start at the 40. Great. Every time you start an endeavor, you're already past half field. When you start out, you're in the end zone. Like, you're in the end zone when you start out, like way on the other side of the field. And that's just what it is. When I started out, I had $8,000 because I worked at McDonald's when I was 14. I saved $8,000, $8,500, and then I put all of it but $217 into my company at 16. I had $217 the first time I filled my truck up. But I had my truck, my lawnmower, and a borrowed trailer, and some basic Home Depot equipment. And then a year and a half later, I sold the company for $50,000. So at 18, I'd paid $473 and then $50,000 in cash, and I put it in a money market account at 5% interest. So I had a checking account that paid 5% interest in 2007. And then I had passive income of like $350 a month until I chose to utilize that cash into other endeavors to play the next round. So food for thought for you entrepreneurs.